We are living in the age of anxiety. For many people, this is a major issue. In fact, according to author Robert Leahy, the average high school student today carries with them the same level of anxiety that a psychiatric patient had in the 1950s. According to Harvard Business Review, 80% of all hospital-related visits from adults are stress-related. We have become a nation of nervous wrecks. In fact, can you ever remember in high school thinking, what if I don't score high enough on the ACT? And then what if I don't get a scholarship into the school that I wanted? And then what if I don't get the job that I've always dreamed of? But what if to get that job, I gotta move to a different state? And what if I move to the state and I can't really afford the housing? So then I have to get roommates. But then what if we start having roommate drama and I really wanna move out, but I can't move out because I haven't met the one? And what if I'm single my whole life? And what if I end up not meeting the one and then you meet the one? And so you go on a date, and you go on more dates, and more dates, and more dates, and you meet their family, and they meet your family, but what if they don't like your family? And what if they wanna move to a different state because they don't wanna be around your family? And are you gonna have kids, and how many kids are you gonna have? Are you gonna private school, public school, home school? Are you gonna cloth diaper? Are you gonna disposable diapers? You're gonna get car insurance, home insurance, life insurance? What if you can't afford all that? What if you end up going into debt? What if you then look on social media and find out that your high school friends are doing way better than you are doing? So you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, you go on Snapchat, you go on MySpace. I don't think MySpace is really a thing anymore. Thank you, TJ. Max Lucado has written a great book called Anxious for Nothing. And I use so much of this book in my message, I couldn't quote him every time. So I just wanna show you the book and go, if you wanna study this further, you gotta pick up this book. But in this book, he gives an analogy. He says, imagine you're a 10-year-old boy, you're outside playing with your friends, and you roll your ankle. Just kind of twist it. And you fall down in a hump and you're screaming out loud and your dad comes outside, takes off your shoe, looks at your ankle and says, you're gonna be fine, it's just a sprain. And you argue with him, you're like, no, it's broken, I'm not gonna be fine. And your dad looks at you and goes, do you know what I do for a living? Actually, you don't. You know he gets up early in the morning and goes off to work. You know he works at a hospital and he helps people, but that's about it. And so the next day you travel with him to his work and you walk into his office and you see these awards and diplomas on the wall. And they use words like honorary and distinguished. And then your father's phone buzzes and he's called into surgery. Turns out he's an orthopedic surgeon specializing in ankles. And so you watch him perform a reconstructive ankle surgery. And that night on the way home, your dad looks at you and says, your ankle's gonna be fine. And this time you believe him. Because as your knowledge and understanding of your father increases, your anxiety begins to decrease. Friends, as your knowledge and your understanding of your Heavenly Father increases, your anxiety begins to decrease. When you believe that God holds the world in the palm of his hands, not just intellectually believe that, but you believe that to your core, you don't get so worried about terrorists, about Iran, about elections or natural disasters, because you know that your God is in control. When you believe that God holds you in the palm of his hand, you're not so anxious about that bully at school. You're not so anxious about that person at work because you know that your God will protect you. As your knowledge and understanding of your Heavenly Father increases, your anxiety begins to decrease.